All right, hello. My name's Chaplain Gilleland. I'm a chaplain for the Special Warfare Training Wing, and today we want to talk to you about suicide prevention with the goal of providing you with some tools to aid you if you or someone you know is contemplating suicide. We know that the holidays are a special time, but for some of our teammates, it can also be a difficult time as well. Some of us are far away from home, or we might not have family near us. Whatever the case, we want to ensure our fellow members are taken care of, and we want to emphasize that we're here for you if you have any issues. So now I would like to take a moment and just introduce my co-presenter for this video, Major Jeffrey Geddes.
Thanks, Chaplain. Yeah, as mentioned, I'm Major Geddes. I'm an operational psychologist in the Human Performance Squadron in the Human Performance Support Group, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to participate in this video.
Well, thanks, Major Geddes, for being here, and we appreciate your insight on this subject. Let's get to the heart of the message. I wanted to start by discussing the ACE method for suicide prevention. I'm sure many of our listeners have heard this acronym before, but for those who haven't, ACE is an acronym that stands for Ask Your Wingman, Care for Your Wingman, and Escort Your Wingman. So let's just look at this a little bit. When we say ask, we mean to develop a personal relationship with those that you work with or those that you're in contact with often. If you think about it, the kind of core behind this is getting to know those around you. You want to be able to talk with them, to get to know them so that you can identify if they're struggling with any kind of issues, especially if they're having suicidal thoughts. But the main idea behind this is to ask questions, get to know something about them, figure out what it is that makes them tick, and what they're interested in. And of course, this takes a little bit of time, but that time pays huge dividends. When you get to know someone, then you can identify when something is off. And I know it's pretty common for us to just ask general questions like, hey, how's it going? And they may respond by saying, oh, I'm fine. But ask is really going a little bit deeper than that. It's asking these open-ended questions to really get to know who they are. And another aspect of ask is also being direct with our questions as well. So if you do sense that something is off, then and you sense that they may be contemplating suicide, then you want to ask them directly, are you contemplating suicide? And if they say yes, then you're moving on to the next part of the acronym, which is care for your airmen. And in this, you don't want to use force with them, but you do want to remain calm and you just want to really be there for them. And this is a huge part in counseling, something that I've noticed in counseling many of the airmen that come through my doors is many times people just want an open ear, somebody that they can talk to, someone that they can confide in, someone that will be on their side. And so just by being there, listening to their situation, having empathy and sympathy for what's going on in their lives can play a huge role in helping to care for them. And then when you're listening to them, when you're caring for them in that way, your next goal is the last part of the acronym, which is escort. And this is where you're trying to put that care into action, right? You want to lead them to some qualified health professionals. Of course, you have like Doc Geddes here, myself as chaplain. There's other qualified health professionals as well, and even members of leadership that would be more than willing to step in and help direct these members to get them the care that they need. Because the bottom line is that our priority is to care for the health and the safety of our fellow members. And so if you're talking with them, and even if they don't want to speak with someone face to face, there's also another option with the suicide prevention hotline. And so these are just a few options for you. And Major Geddes, I know you have some more to say as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'd like to kind of highlight a couple of things that you said about that about that ACE acronym. Ask, and when we ask, we don't want the first question that we ask a person to be, "Are you thinking about suicide?" Right? So developing those relationships are key, and the earlier on we develop those relationships, the earlier on we're going to recognize potential issues or problems. I think suicide prevention really starts at the very first problem that somebody may be having, right? The financial difficulties or the beginnings of the relationship problem. And if we're in tune with those around us enough to recognize those issues, we often get to the heart of the matter before it even gets to the point of suicide. So I think a lot of times we talk about suicide prevention kind of as hey, are you contemplating suicide? And then we need to ask care escort. But a lot of times we can do that a lot earlier, right? A lot earlier in the process. And I think suicide is something that has the ability, if it has not, to impact everyone, which is relationships are key. The closer you are with somebody, the more personal relationship that you've developed with them, the more likely they are to share what some of those challenges that they may be experiencing are. And so we need to develop relationships with trust early. Um, so that when there is a problem, people will reach out to us. You know, the other thing is to kind of just know what some of the signs and symptoms of suicide or of other challenges are. If somebody starts talking about hopelessness or has difficulty seeing into the future, has difficulty seeing past kind of the current problems they're in, or feel like they're a burden to others. And the only way to relieve that burden is to not be around. If they start talking about not being around, or any other just kind of sudden changes in behavior, are times that we really want to become, a little more concerned and ask some more of those direct questions, as Chaplain Gilleland discussed. I'm a big fan of the Ask Care Escort, but I know with some of the new Green Dot training, I think, there's this kind of idea of see something, say something, right? So a lot of times people, for whatever reason, maybe they're dealing with some of their own demons, may not be comfortable having some of those direct conversations, right? Um, but I think what we need to do is just say, hey, I see something that is off. If I'm uncomfortable saying something, that I can go find somebody, whether it's a chaplain, whether it's leadership, or someone else that's close to this individual, to maybe hand off or be able to ask those questions. The last thing I'd kind of like to highlight is I know this isn't an exhaustive list, but a lot of times we think about the holidays as an increased time of risk, because it can be difficult for some people, and it certainly is difficult for some people. But we do a really good job wrapping our arms around people around the holidays sometimes, and a lot of times. And I think there's a time that really has increased risk is after the holidays, when people's families go away, when people are back to their work environment, and that can definitely increase feelings of loneliness and isolation. So definitely a time to pay a little more attention to those coworkers and those around you.
Yeah, those are some great points. And I definitely resonate, especially coming from the chaplain side of things. These aspects of hope, and I'd even say peace in the midst of that as well. When things are in turmoil in your life, it can very easily seem as though there's no way out. that there is no solution to the problems that are going on in life, and sometimes that can be magnified during this time, and you can definitely start to feel alone. But I think that the main message we're wanting to get here is, like, you're not alone, that there are people that are here for you, that want to help, and all you have to do is reach out. We're going to be looking, but don't hesitate to seek help. That's why we're here. For the chaplain's office, of course, we have 24/7 coverage. We have an on-call number that the wing has, that is spread out throughout the wing. But even if you don't know that, you can contact your supervisor, first sergeant. They all have chaplain's number, and we are willing to meet up, to find you anytime, day or night, to be able to care for you. And that extends to family members as well, because I know it's not just the active duty members that could be struggling during this time of year as well. And then in addition to that, I know COVID has kind of thrown a curveball into all of our typical routines. So, the services that we would typically have over in the chapel, special services like Christmas Eve and whatnot, are going to be online now. But we're still having those services, and you can go and you can check on the Facebook page and Lackland, Maine's chapel website as well. And it's at least something to be able to connect with others and still have that sense of community. Even if you're out of town, you can still connect with your brothers and sisters in arms there as well. And so these are some of the things that the chaplain office can provide. And Major Geddes, I know that there's some things as well that you guys have.
Absolutely. So from the HP side of things, we offer a variety of things, and there's a lot of variety of things that we can do to help. One thing that we know is physical pain and sleep difficulties often lead to hopeless thoughts. Sleep changes everything. When people get sleep, things get a lot better, and when people don't get sleep, things get a lot worse. And so, if you're having, whether it's physical pain or sleep difficulties, we've got providers in the operational medicine squadron, or physical therapists, occupational therapists, and human performance squadron as well that can help out. Additionally, for other difficulties that you or someone else may be having, we've got 3 operational psychologists currently in the wing, in the human performance squadron. So Dr. Sean Nadler in the 353rd, Major Emily Greiser, and then myself, who works over at Prep. We all work within the human performance squadron, but we're kind of housed within different areas. And so if you need anything, you can always reach out to us for consultation, and we can provide you some brief consultation or assist you in connecting with other more extensive resources if those are needed. Also, if you're uncomfortable reaching out to somebody in uniform, there's always Military One Source that is a great option if you want to reach out to somebody outside the military as well. So if you just if you just have questions, there's often that question about how this may impact someone's career, reaching out to mental health, whether that's in the military or through Military One Source. You can track one of us down, and we can kind of walk through any of your concerns and answer any of those questions for you.
Awesome. I think this has been a good conversation. I know it's just kind of scratching the surface of all the things available, and hopefully it's providing some tools in the tool belt to be able to help and care for those around you. And Major Geddes, I thank you for joining us today and providing this useful information. So,
anytime, Chaplain. It was good to be able to sit down with you and have some of this conversation about some of these challenging things during a challenging time. And I hope you get some rest and have a good Christmas and New Year's.
all right. Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.